Great. I'm Ken Johnson. We're a company called K-Ride Systems. We're down by Fox Valley Mall. You know what that is in Aurora. And we're a software development company building business applications for companies like Fox, Amway, Chevron. Christie's, the auction house, actually is one of our customers. So we're a little company with some amazing customers. Very exciting place to work. I'm going to ask a couple volunteers. I think I mentioned already, if any of you have cameras on your phones, if any of you have cameras on your phone, videotape me. You can just do what I've done. Set your phone down, let it run. Maybe do a zoom in once in a while if something interesting happens. Send it to me. I'm sure you all know how to do it. Dropbox and video, sending, all that stuff. And about 4 years from now, I'll finish creating a mashup and I'll post it. Hopefully soon. But I got a letter from Karen, email from Karen a little while ago, and said if you could give an interesting and motivational talk that will inspire our interns both here at Richardson Electronics and on into the rest of their careers, that would be great. I got nothing. So what I thought I would do is bring along a little friend who maybe we can learn something.
Oh my gosh, it better not be a dog right now.
So, he's a little shy, but if we all say, oh, come on out, maybe, you know, maybe,
It's a book. Is it a
basket? That's where he's going to sit.
Is it as big?
So you would be like Mary Poppins.
Oh,
Come
there you
down.
go.
That's not a dog.
So, Rubik's cube. I was hoping you were thinking to give a ventriloquist, and I was actually coming to talk to the ventriloquist.
I was hoping it'd be a bunny.
You know, if you insert, that would go over big, I know. So we'll go ahead and we'll just bring these out here. I also need 4 people to just volunteer real quick. And what I'm going to ask you to do is do a quick research on the internet for the number of permutations of, somebody needs to take a 2x2, somebody needs to take a 3x3, a 4x4, and a 5x5.
One-handed or two-handed?
And, although the number of permutations doesn't matter, whether it's right-handed or left. So who'll take a 2x2 for me and just do a quick Google and figure out, you do that, okay? Find out the number of permutations, and if you can, look for, you know, they say, if train cars were lined up this many, it would reach to the moon and back. Find something like that, it'll come in handy later. Anybody want to take the 3, the standard Rubik's Cube? Anyone? I actually know that number, so I don't have to do the research. Somebody take the 4x4, you just, if you have your phone, who has a phone, you do the 4x4, and the 5x5, somebody can do that. This is a weird shaped one. This one cannot be solved. Okay. So the Rubik's Cube came out early 70s. I was in high school in the late 70s. And when this cube came out, I was kind of with the math geek folk, and we were completely enamored with this. So what I'm going to do is, can you do a quick reassurance that this is scrambled for me? Just make sure that it's scrambled. We'll just get right to the fun part of the presentation, and then you can eat and fall asleep for the rest of it. He must be confident that I didn't bring it somehow. Okay, does anybody have a watch handy or a stopwatch on there?
I got it.
You know, you can say go whenever you want.
Go.
Oh wait, is that one?
Go.
All right, so I solved it kind of bottom up. I solved the bottom. You can see there's this cross at the bottom already. I haven't done it for a while in front of people. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah,
Boy, I'm
take it.
normally get nervous.
It's going for speed.
And so I've been solving the Rubik's Cube then since I was 17. That's like 5 years. And I actually was in a contest once out at the Stratford Square Mall. You know, maybe you know where that is. When it was a brand new mall. It is old and not looking very brand new anymore. Back then it was exciting. And I was third. And I actually did better on the average than everybody else. But my best time was not as good as the person who, when they solved it, their best time, they looked at it, they were dumbfounded, they couldn't believe they had solved it, and they beat me. And they went on to be on national television, and let me tell you, that was disappointing at the time. That, oh, I just found it. I've never got over that. Okay, and there we go.
Wow.
Minute 15.
What?
Minute 15.
Oh, but I was talking, right? I was talking. So that's good. So that's
Still super.
That's
You were
kind of fun.
reminiscing too.
Applause. This one, I can do this one too. So just so you know. Is anybody at all curious about how the cube works? I'll do a real quick explanation of how the Rubik's Cube works. It seems impossible. It's a bunch of rubber bands inside wrapped around. And if you go, that's not how it works at all. On the inside of the cube, each cube has a little foot. And if you were to cut those feet off, you'd end up with a sphere. So you can kind of imagine that if there's a sphere on the inside here, it turns around that sphere. So those feet clip in, and it's all in a sphere. And what's really weird about the Rubik's Cube is there is nothing that keeps this from having been invented back to the Egyptians. There's no special technology. Isn't that weird to think that this came out in the 70s? Nothing stopping, Archimedes from having had a Rubik's Cube, and it would have been a mystery to most of us that whole time, how we solved it. And I don't know how many of you actually seen somebody in person solve it before? Not that many. You have? Maybe you all, okay. So you've seen somebody solve it in person. When I did this in the 70s, no 80s, nobody ever saw anybody in person. And even 10, 20 years later, nobody had. Now, kids can solve it in 10 seconds on the internet. I want to tell you that is all Photoshop, CGI. None of that is real. Don't believe any of it. So, what can we learn from the Rubik's Cube? That's what I thought we would talk about today. Because there are profound things to be learned from the Rubik's Cube, as I'm sure most of you would agree. Oh, come on, someone laugh. All right, here's one of the things. On the Rubik's Cube, there are 3 layers. So if at any point you're giving a presentation, I think you're all going to be giving a presentation coming up at the end of your internships, always have 3 points to your presentation. It's much easier for the audience to follow, and that's a general principle we can learn from the Rubik's Cube. My presentation has about 10 today, so that's another principle, always break the rules. I'm sure the Richardson management likes to hear that done in the presentation too. So that's one of the lessons you can learn. I do need a volunteer. Can I have a volunteer come up?
You're gonna put me in a box and
I'm gonna put you on the spot and embarrass the heck out of you. Whoever comes up. What's your, what year are you in school? Sophomore. What do you hope your major to be?
Electrical engineering.
Electrical engineering. Are you working in the electrical engineering department here? And what's the 5-second version of your project?
Make new boards for a.
not my word.
So be working on 3 points for that, so you can do the 3 points really well. Okay, now, if I were to say, okay, your goal is in the next 2 minutes to get this solved. Okay, so I'm going to put this right here, and I'm going to say, in the next 2 minutes to get this solved, how would you do it?
YouTube the video.
Let me rephrase it. In the next 2 minutes, this needs to be solved. How would you accomplish that task?
Fill all the colors. Delegate.
Say it again?
Delegate.
And what is the magic word you would use? Please! Exactly right. So, that's another lesson you learned about the Rubik's Cube. And it's one that years ago, and you can see, thank you very much. Years ago, I traveled with a church group, and I would, bring a kid up, and we talk about your life's messed up, how do you fix your own life, and you can't. You need to ask someone to help you with it. And I think that's a principle that works true for everything. So you're here, you're working with a department, you don't know everything, you're getting help with your project, you have a mentor And that's an awesome program they have here. So throughout life, remember that a scrambled Rubik's Cube, it's not your job to fix it. Give it off to somebody else. So another lesson.
So is that like life too?
That's something too
I
hard.
can't pay these bills.
Throw it off to somebody else. Exactly
All
right.
right, I'm gonna try that today. I'll do it
All
tomorrow.
right. Now, how many of you here are willing to say that you are substantially, like me, a geek? I see a few hands. Okay, I decided that I was gonna go ahead and have a geek moment, okay? In spite of the fact that the whole talk is a geek moment. The marketing people here are just like, you're okay? Okay, I'm a marketing person now too, and there's really a cool marketing application that we'll be talking about here in a minute. I just need this solved. I don't know why I went and messed it up when I was going to use it for this next piece. But, so the geek moment is, I want to just give you, if you've never had it before, a little insight into how to solve a Rubik's Cube, okay? And I really, if some of you want to take a little nap right now, that's okay. I'm probably going to need it too.
So have you solved all of these, even that super complicated looking one?
The five.
You mean the one that
Or is that
doesn't
one just
solve?
for show?
I've solved them going on roller coasters, I've solved them water skiing, I've solved them taking off before the plane takes off in the air. Not that fast, I do this in about, we'll talk about how long it takes me. This I got for Christmas, and it hasn't changed much since then. And I told you, this is not solvable, so that one can't be solved. I don't want to talk about that. So, okay, Rubik's Cube, how do you solve the Rubik's Cube? Here's a little principle, and a few geeks are going to get it. You can explain it during the rest of your internship to everybody. Imagine set of moves A. Don't worry about what they are. All they do is they flip one edge on the top and nothing else on the top. Can you see that? One edge is flipped, nothing else is flipped, right? Everyone can answer this question. If I do everything backwards right now, what happens?
It goes back.
A marketing person, what happens? If I do the moves backwards right now.
Oh, it'll be solved.
Why? Anytime you do anything forwards and backwards, it's just the
Right,
same.
it's
If
the
I
same.
walk 2 steps forward, and I walk 2 steps back, I made a very simple line dance, and I knew where I was. Now space wall too. Forward, back, pretty boring, right? Okay, now, the hard part. Imagine I do set of moves A, right? Now, nothing else has changed on top, so I'm just gonna move this over here, and now I'm gonna do A prime. And A prime is just the moves backwards, right now. What happens if I do the moves backwards now? What happens if I do it now?
Back to normal.
Gotta go
No,
back.
what if I do it now?
It's all messed up.
No, you still
No,
do the
you
same
moved
thing.
it over.
If you go in
We just
reverse, that means he's moving it
split.
back over.
Yeah.
Put an extra step, you're talking about with the extra.
With the extra step?
So there's the cube that got switched on top.
Yeah.
Does that set of moves know anything about any of the other pieces up here?
No.
Doesn't, right? So if I fool it, and I move that cube over there, and I do the moves backwards,
Well, you forgot to rotate the
we
move.
end up with 2 flip edges.
Yes.
Well, you forgot your move that you just did.
So here's the thing. Did anybody catch a glimpse of what I just did?
No,
Did you get a whiff of it?
nope,
That I did the moves forward
nothing.
And then back.
and hid the cube on top, did them backwards.
Yeah.
So it had to flip that cube, and it flipped that cube, but it was a different cube,
Exactly.
right?
So now it's-
Sleep on it for a while. To me, being able to flip 2 cubes this seems much harder than maybe doing 1 layer, right? How do you solve that one?
Oh yeah, making pictures and stuff. People do that.
How do you do that? Okay, so that was the geek moment. We'll move on to more interesting things.
Yeah,
All right, has anybody done their assignments? Anybody done their assignments yet?
No, I've been that.
Okay.
Oh,
Which cube did you have? The 5 by 5, hold on to that one. Anybody get the 2 by 2? The 2, think about how many, think of a number in your head, okay? Think of a number in your head and how many different, here's one combination, here's another, right? Here's another. How many are there?
I'm saying something.
Is it 10,000? Higher, lower? Who says higher than 10,000?
It's lower.
100,000? Higher, lower? 1 million, is it higher or lower?
Still a little.
It's 3 million.
3.5, yeah.
It's 3 million combinations. That's not intuitive, right?
Me
Not
either.
intuitive at all.
I'm not even
We,
gonna.
we had one sign, right? And this number goes up to, it's 47 quintillion.
What?
That is a number
How many past
that we
trillions?
cannot comprehend, and I have no example for what it means. It's absurdly huge.
A lot of zeros.
It is really big.
Is it bigger than Google?
How big is it? It's really big.
It's 5 cents.
Okay, then we go to the 4x4.
5 cents of zeros.
Oh, okay.
Did anybody look at the 4x4? I don't have the number, I don't know the number for that. That is-
For the 4, yeah, it's like.
Yeah, it's really big. It's bigger than the distance between these two. Okay, far bigger.
What?
Tell me about the 5x5.
So the 5x5
More we know.
it's like has about 283 duodecillion permutations.
Oh my God, what is that compared to?
So they compare it like, so the number is 2.83 times 10 to the 74th.
Oh.
And
Oh, wow.
10 to the 80th is the number of
That's the math I
atoms
avoid.
in the observable universe.
In
So
the universe. Okay, now this is geeky, right? What's the significance of this? Occasionally, you need to just have a wow on something. This stupid little thing that isn't that big a deal has more combinations than the number of atoms in the
well, almost.
universe. He is geeky. But the point is, if from right now, for the rest of your life, you refuse to spend $15 on a Rubik's Cube every week and you put that in the bank,
Yeah.
how much money do you have by the time you're 65?
Like-
That's the lesson you take, because it's, well, it's a lot. So, people who do spend $15 a week buying Rubik's Cubes all the time, don't have any money to want to spend it at 65.
You have
I
a
got the
question.
4x4,
Oh, 4x4.
but I don't know if there's a point of reference. It says 7.4
Quattro.
quadrodecillion, but I need to figure out
Really
what
big.
that actually
Okay,
is.
it is really big. And I think one of the things about life that to me is interesting is a lot of times our intuition is way off. And you have to sometimes be careful. So you should go with your gut, but sometimes you gotta be careful. And that's when you ask advice and have someone else do it for you. Good. I'll tell you what, two last things. One of them's kind of fun, and this is about how life doesn't change as much as you think. So I know you guys look at me as an old guy, but does anybody have stories in high school and college of kids who would text and walk into doors and stuff on their phone?
Yep.
Walk into a
Were there some people who are especially bad at it?
Yep.
Who just, right? I mean, actually, worse things are happening, and it's kind of sad. But that doesn't seem like something that would have been going on way back when, right? When this came out, my friends and I were like this. Everywhere we went, I would run into doors, I would run into people, and I just thought of this in the last month. I mean, it's the same phenomenon. And who would think that I could actually associate, and I hadn't, because I text and I mean, I'm just as bad as you guys, believe me, on my phone. I love my phone. But even at age 17, I was walking around with my freaking head in this thing, ignoring all my friends and, running into walls. So it's an interesting insight. Life, sometimes there's a lot of things about life that is really will not change. It's really strange. The last thing I'm going to just talk about is actually how this has affected my career. So I learned to solve this in high school. I say that I gave up grade point average the year that it came out, so I probably went down a grade point average. I think that's actually an exaggeration, really. About age 30, I was in a coaching company. We coached salespeople, and one day on the plane, it dawned on me. I always would carry it with me, and I was fiddling with it, and people next to me would always gawk, wow. And I realized, wait, when you're doing marketing and sales, you want people to go, wow, right? And so I talked to my boss, and I said, let me introduce you. He's a motivational speaker. I'll introduce you. And then everyone will go, oh, the guy with the cube, he's a genius. So his boss must be really smart. Hopefully true. But that's what they thought, and it worked really good. And so I would say I've never been able to teach anybody to solve the Rubik's Cube, but my boss has been able to train salespeople to sell twice as much in the same year. It was really good. Forgot about it for 12 years. Came to work for the company I work for now, and it was just a very small company when I started. And you know, just pass my business cards around there and take a look at the logo. You'll see that the logo has a very interesting color and design to it. And I'm looking at the logo one day, and I went, holy smoke, it's a freaking Rubik's Cube. And it wasn't designed that way. The designer it had nothing to do with anything. It's a cube inside a cube. Doesn't necessarily mean a lot unless you apply meaning to it. And I realized that our company is really good at solving problems. Our software is some of the best problem-solving software you can buy. And I realized I had the perfect introduction. And the first time I did it for Amway Corporation, we were up against Oracle. Anybody know who Oracle is? Like the largest computing company in the world. And their salespeople were up against Amway. And I did my presentation. I got a big wow. Then we did the demo. They loved it. They were actually wowing in the demo, marketing salespeople. Here, when people wow during your demonstration or during your sales pitch, you're in, okay? So what happened was they went to Oracle. 6 months later, it failed on that side. And we were not forgotten. And we went back a second time, and when I didn't have my Rubik's Cube, the whole room was like, where's your Rubik's Cube? And I had no idea, and that nailed it. But from that point on, we always have always done a Rubik's Cube presentation, because even 4 years later, when I go back to the crew at Amway there, the first thing they'll say is, where's your Rubik's Cube? Not, oh, your software is wonderful, we just love it, where's your Rubik's Cube? So who would think that this stupid toy that came out when I was in high school, that I spent way too much time on, which even now, my wife still rolls her eyes a bit, how much I enjoy it, has actually, I would say, I've kind of looked at it, about 25% increase to my salary in the last 8 years. Paid off! So, what is the lesson to learn? You know, it's kind of boring, but you may have some things you're passionate about. Just be careful. Sometimes following them too hard could be dangerous if you're not really good at them. But you should still enjoy them. You should still pursue them. And don't shy away from talking with management at some point. If you see a connection or a link, maybe I could actually use this here. I don't know what those things are for you, but we all have some of them, and you never know. And I would say, if you ever need encouragement to think, you know, there is this thing I do, I think it might be a good idea that for some use. Think about me, freaking stupid Rubik's Cube, and it's paid off, 25% increase in my salary. Education is a great way to increase your salary, and also please, my lessons are $19.95 an hour. No. So thank you, I really appreciate your having me in. I hope that was enjoyable. And if you do have any friends who are graduating with a computer degree in the next year, please give them my card. We have a very interesting opportunity at our company for programmers. I don't know if you guys hire a lot of programmers here, so I think I'm safe to co-opt programmers. You know, we do have a couple folk from NIU, UIC, working with us, and they're enjoying it. So, great.
Thank you.
I think now we can go ahead and open it up for questions.
Any questions? Yeah, questions.
I think, well, more just a general statement. I don't know about anybody else, but when, similar to what you were talking about, when I see someone able to solve a Rubik's Cube, I automatically just think that they're 10 times smarter than the room. I don't know about anybody else, but this is how I feel. Because I know there's an algorithm and there's a lot of math behind it, which is something that I don't understand.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I'm smart in some things, and I'm not smart in other things. I am not a certified genius. I just am good with puzzles. But everybody does think that you're really smart. So sometimes it's good not to. It's not good to add the part about how. Well, I'm not really as smart as it. It's really hard, right? You play the piano really well. Take credit for it. You play the piano really well.
I think that's like a thing on like gifts and challenges, like play up your gifts, like things you're able to do.
Absolutely do it.
Kind of thing.
Any other questions?
Any questions, Justin? You saw the scoop?
I'm all for that. Can you?
I've even tried to go
Last
on
layer.
YouTube and try to
Bring
solve
my-
that
bring
piano.
my
I'm like,
butt
If you give me, you watch America's Got Talent, there's a guy doing cube magic.
yeah, that's great.
I just.
It's that guy that beat you in the competition? No.
No, he's 20. He's unbelievable. Okay, well, if you want to bring your cubes up, I'll be glad to solve it for you.
Look, I did